Andrew, welcome. I've been really excited about having this conversation with you. I think I'm a bit of a gamer myself, so this is fun. I do definitely like to double dip in terms of the conversations I have, in which just people I really want to talk to, and then if I can record them for a podcast, that's all together. Aside from that, so welcome. Really glad, really happy to have you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I know that we had to reschedule, but today's the perfect day. Back in Los Angeles and ready to have a great conversation with you.
Love it, love it. Good Lord, you're in the video game industry and you live in LA. Just I want to be you when I grow up, man. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your journey into your current role? I absolutely know, and I can say for myself as well. How do you get to be you?
Yeah,
What was that? What was that path like?
yeah. So it's been an interesting path. So currently, I'm director of data science at Take-Two Interactive, and the journey has been a long journey. So I started out as a computer science major at Harvard University. Decided first started out as electrical engineering, switched over to computer science.
Oh wow.
A lot of people make that transition, and funny enough, I converted over to being a computer science major, but I didn't own a computer with internet access.
That's
So I
hilarious.
learned, yeah. So during my first like 2 years, I pretty much lived in the science center.
Yeah.
If anyone's been on Harvard's campus in the science center, we had these digital Unix machines,
Uh,
and I would just hang out. And there was this tool called Finger, and I would chat with my friends and finger them.
oh wow.
I don't know if people remember that. And really, that's where I really I learned my coding chops and my typing chops. I had this graduate school mentor who
Mm.
was an amazing typer, and I remember on my first, and he got me my first computer. He's like, "Hey, I built a
Wow.
computer. I built a new computer. You can take my old computer." So
Amazing.
finally, in my dorm with the T1 connection, I'm able to like
Ah,
build little games
I
and
was gonna
code.
say T1 connection and what type of LAN parties you must have immediately set up. I know the deal, man. I know the deal.
Yeah. And this was back in the day we had internet relay chat and Napster
Yeah.
and all the things going on. And I'll never forget this. To learn how to code, I mean, to be a better coder, I needed to become a better typer. So I spray painted my entire keyboard black so that I would memorize not only the letter,
Oh,
but also the function keys and everything else that's necessary. So that kind of like was the inception of.
Andrew, I gotta tell you, the movie Hackers is one of my favorite movies ever, and you just reminded me of the scene in which they're spray painting the keyboards, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the universe.
Yeah.
I absolutely have never known a real person to have done that. I love that. That's how you started.
Yeah, and that's paid dividends all the way up until today. I love like, just showing off my skills on the keyboard and like really having that connection with the computer. I feel like when you're sitting in front of a computer, you're creating this energy space, right?
Oh.
Because you have your machine connected to wires and those wires connected to the internet, and it's like this energy space that you're able to create. And that's kind of how I operate all the way through to
Oh.
today. So after college, I entered the professional ranks, started working. I worked for a hedge fund doing reporting,
Oh
worked at
wow.
United Nations, a bunch of random jobs. And then in
Listen, wait,
2010.
man. When you talk about random jobs, my random jobs working at a grocery store. I'm thinking that's a varied set of experiences. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
within a random jobs.
Yeah,
Wow,
like
love it.
just random tech jobs.
Sure, fair enough.
Yeah, there's a bunch of tech jobs. But in 2010 is when I entered the media and entertainment space, and that's when something really triggered me, and like my passion was even fueled even more. I love media and entertainment. I love watching movies. I love YouTube. I love,
Yeah.
used to be addicted to video games when I was younger. So
Sure.
this has such a importance to me. And like, and it was the first opportunity where my work became more than just like a way for me to express myself with my computer skills, but also a way for me to connect with others in a way that through, you know, my technical capabilities, but connect with them in a different medium. And that's where I'm at today, you know. So you're a gamer, I work for a gaming company, the conversations flow.
Yeah.
You know, I have to talk about like Python modules, anything like that. You know, we're able to
Yeah.
connect. That was something that I felt earlier on in my career was a challenge for me because most of my friends were not techies. They, you
Sure.
know, and you know, I want to connect with them. So this is an opportunity for me to connect through my professional experiences as well with people and like millions and tens of millions of people throughout the world. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, industry wide, there's a PS5 off to my left next to my desk. I mean, I'll try to squeeze in time when I can. You know, I'm busy with work. I'm busy with my 4-year-old and my family. But you know, if I can squeeze in a few minutes of GTA or whatever it is, I'll do my best. Uh, you're one thing that really struck me in terms of what you said in terms of that passion, like building that, you know, building that bubble around you as you're just connecting with that machine. I love people being in roles that they're clearly meant to be in
yeah,
which, you know, that connection with it. My brother-in-law is a surgeon, but he should be nothing else in that, like, in all of his spare time, it's spent focusing on his craft. And I'm
yes,
blown away that I've never heard anyone describe typing the way that you have, which really genuinely shocks me because I do know a lot of people that are either developers, computer science students, you know, doing this professionally, and none of them have spoken to me about typing like you did, which is, but my brother-in-law,
I'm dating
yes.
myself.
No, I don't agree. You describe your keyboard like he describes his surgical tools. It
Yeah,
is, that is so interesting to me. He has a passion for them. He displays classic ones in his office. I can only imagine the keyboard collection that you have. Am I right?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, that,
there you go. So
yeah,
very interesting. That's another podcast entirely about whatever mechanical
yeah,
keyboards you have and the customizations. We'll
yeah,
get to that hopefully someday, maybe over coffee.
yeah.
But I
But
love that passion, and I'm genuinely surprised that I haven't heard it described the way that you did. It seems obvious. Having said that, your
thank
day, I imagine, is an interesting one, probably every day, and a mix of science and strategy. I'd love to learn what motivates you. You give me a little bit of a window in terms of your passion, but what else motivates you every day? How do you keep going each day?
Yeah. So, you know, just to like follow up with the previous like the previous talk that we are just having, connecting with people is
Yeah.
really gives me energy and finding a way to connect with people with my own interests. So, work is luckily, I'm so lucky to have the opportunity to do that with my data scientists, AI engineers, machine learning engineers, and on a daily basis. And interesting enough, I split my time between New York and Los Angeles. So I own a place in both cities. Our headquarters are in New York. So
Right.
when I'm in LA, my day starts at about 5 o'clock in the morning where I'm like guzzling some coffee. And at 6:15, I have my first scrum call where I get to talk to the entire team about, hey, what's our plan for the day? And we get into what machine learning models or engineering pipeline problems that we need uh, to overcome for the day, and we all turn our cameras on, and I go from sleeping to, you know, like wiping the cold out of my eyes,
Yeah. Yeah.
having coffee,
Yeah.
and I get a group of people who are engaged and ready to accomplish great things on a daily basis. So I love that start to the day, and really having the opportunity to develop that, uh, to talk to people from all different walks of life. We have
Right.
people Nepal with Fusemachines.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Originally from China, people from all different walks of life. We all get together to try to solve these business problems through advanced data science and engineering techniques. And I love that. I love the getting to know people, hey, their families getting, they're going to a wedding. I want to know, hey, how long's the wedding? What type of wedding is this? Um, learning about what people are really passionate about and getting to know them is really what energizes me. So, and during my career, I spent a long time as an individual contributor. And I, was the person that showed up to all the birthday parties, saying happy birthday, loud,
Right.
the loudest singer, going to
Yeah.
happy hour, going to weddings,
Yeah.
so and the opportunity to be a leader with the
Yeah.
team and show that I care about first who they are and what their passions are first. That really is what motivates me on a day-to-day basis. And
Yeah.
there's some challenges there as well too. There's the huge challenges at the executive level, trying to figure out how to marry the business problems and the business goals with
Mm,
these individuals and what their passions are and create a
right.
long-term situation of success. And that is really the problem space that I live in on a day-to-day basis. Primarily, I'm thinking about others versus,
Right.
personal goals and
Wow.
aspirations on a day-to-day basis. So, yeah, so that's a
No,
rough,
I adore that.
really
I
rough
adore
sketch
that.
of what a day will look like.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I think this is the first. So I'm with Fuse right now. I've been here for a couple of years. It's the first role in which I haven't met in person almost the entirety of the team that I work with. I joke that it's kind of like I've been watching this Netflix show for the last 2 years, and so I'm finally getting the chance to actually meet some folks next week in New York, and I'm gonna lose my mind because it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, it's you. I have no idea if people are 4 feet tall or 10 feet tall because all I get is assume. But you know what? We'll spend 10 seconds getting out of the way the fact that we have never been in a room together and go right back to those really strong friendships that you're able to build. I was a little unsure that I'd be able to do that over Zoom. And I'm talking about New York, but similarly with folks in Nepal, around the world, in other parts of the world, I do believe that I have those strong relationships, and it's interesting. It's just over this medium.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool.
Again, it's an energy place, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so we're all looking at these screens that are powered by electricity, that are connected by wires, and really what creates a business, what creates these relationships, the energy that you put into it, right? So like,
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah.
if I shake my head around, I'm moving those pixels, and it has an impact on your machine. Really, we're creating this energy place, and that transfers over to real life. Like,
Right.
person might be 7 foot tall, and you'd be like, "Hey, remember we were joking about some TV show that we watched together?" And like that relationship is still there, and that's really what it's all about. It's affording the time to get to know people. Super important.
Yeah. No, I love that when you speak of it in terms of energy and then what you put in positively or negatively, is also going to be transmitted. So do your best to be
Yeah.
to transmit that positive energy. And I can definitely I absolutely subscribe to that. And I never thought about that as potentially being the reason to build out these relationships. But if you're a leader, sometimes you got to be the only dad in the room. You got to be the adult and kind of make sure everyone's getting along. And to your point, if folks have their goals and their motivations and tying those all together into, you're the one that's going to have to figure out how to use those energies and drive towards, the goals that the company has. But hey, it could still be a wonderful team building experience and relationship strengthening experience. That makes perfect sense. So now I'll dive into this question because you've got to have a great answer to this in terms of some milestones that you're particularly proud of, whether it be in your current role, within your education, within personally with your teams, and I'd love to hear some things that, yeah, these are moments that I'd like to highlight.
Yeah, there are a lot of achievements. You know, my journey has been interesting, you know, from working at HBO, working at Pluto to now at Take Two. Um, the one major thing is the success of the companies overall, right? Like in the impact that I've been able to have with my roles on in terms of helping the company continue to grow. Personally, for my team, the biggest, the most important milestones are when my team members get promoted. So I've had throughout my journey multiple uh, uh, instances of this, and then most recently, I've had three data scientists get promoted under my leadership.
That's
So
wonderful.
yeah, so that that by far trumps everything. Just seeing the success of team members, seeing them grow within their careers, grow to have more organizational impact, and um, and develop as well. Like that, seeing the development of, you know, direct reports who are, you know, hopefully will no longer be direct reports because they don't need me as
Yeah.
like that's really what the goal is. And also having a team that in really learning how to uh, build um, build teams that work well, that are
Right.
spread up geographically is another area. Like how do you keep people motivated on a day-to-day basis when their time zones don't match and they only have 3 hours of overlap time? Uh,
Sure.
how do you
Their
foster?
cultures might not overlap in a lot of ways, in which what they're watching or doing or spending their time on is
Yeah,
completely different.
yeah,
I can relate to that.
yeah. And then that's where gaming comes into play. You know,
Yeah,
we all have that as like as a social fabric, something for us to build
absolutely.
upon. But also, there are other aspects to a thriving culture and groups that I've had in the past that, you know, I really try to foster on my teams. I want people to feel comfortable to be who they are. I remember, you know, I'm originally from the Bronx, New York, from the
Oh
South
wow.
Bronx, and I remember uh, during my first internships, I would talk to executives. You know, you have the executive lunch. The executive signs up to take interns out, and
Right?
you know, an overview of the business, and they would always ask, "Where are you from?" And I would say,
Huh.
"Oh, I'm from New York City, not from the Bronx." You know, like really trying
Oh,
to erase part of my true identity to try to fit in.
interesting.
Something that I find extremely important in my teams. I want everyone to be feel comfortable being exactly who they are because that's where your strength comes from, and that creates a I want to create an inclusive environment where people feel, you know, that what makes them different can they want to add that difference into the pot.
Wow.
Like, you know, when I cook, I'm adding all of the spices in the cabinet into the
Right.
blender.
Yeah,
So
that's a wonderful analogy. Yeah, I absolutely, and I can only imagine what that sounds like something that I think I'd like to do in terms of I know what it's like to feel maybe not that great feeling or that bad feeling, and I don't want someone else to feel like that under my like on
yeah,
my team. So if I
yeah,
can take that away from you and you can skip that step, all the better. And you know, both of us don't have to go through you know, necessarily what you went through, and so, yeah, let's just get past that because on my team, that stuff ideally, I'd like to make sure it doesn't happen. And you know, you've got a happy team, you got folks that look up to you, you've got you know folks that'll not that that's necessarily the goal, but it does build that strong camaraderie and
yeah.
folks that you know, hey, you need help, they'll be there for you.
I
Yeah,
used to have
yeah.
this really when I first became a manager, this was so important to me. And when I'd have orientation, there's this Ice Cube video called Today Was a Good Day."
Doing well.
Time.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I have the album. Huge fan.
in the first orientation, you know, it's your first day hired, you're meeting your manager, and I would pull up the video and we'd watch Today Was a Good Day, and then we'd have a conversation about the video. To just like, you know, to let people know that on this team, feel confident and feel free to be who you are. Uh and it's a great video to have a conversation about.
It's a damn good video. I'm one 1,000% stealing that. I don't know if my team in Nepal. There's a few folks in my team that might be familiar with Ice Cube, but probably from his recent movies,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
from his earlier musical career.
Yeah.
But I'll it's my job to educate them. That
That's one of,
I
yeah.
I love that.
We steal it. Yeah. For you to steal that one. That one.
Yeah, done. I promise you. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah. With an
Uh,
AI engineer, the conversation will go, you have no idea where it's going to go.
I oh I yes, I promise you I will let you know.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. I'll dive a little bit back. I'd love to pick your brain kind of about the industry in general, technology in general. You guys, I imagine, are doing things kind of on the bleeding edge,
Yes.
in a number of ways.
Mhm.
And so I'd be curious where, what you think could be important for the success of the gaming industry. I imagine AI in gaming is evolving pretty quickly.
Definitely. You know, AI really advances the technical capabilities of the actual end product, but also the contributors to the product as well. So
Hmm.
what's the current macro economic environment that we're in, especially in technology, we're seeing it across the board that there are major layoffs at all of the major big tech
Yes,
companies. And the
absolutely.
strategy is very clear. This is the impact of AI on a day-to-day basis and how we do our jobs. Uh, and even with our team over, my time being here, our team size has uh, well, our team size has remained consistent, a little
Sure.
bit smaller than when I first started, but we're
Right.
doing much more with less through the use of AI technology. So, the biggest example is the viral how ChatGPT has gone viral. There's an example last week. I needed to figure out really quickly how to import a VPC as a resource in a Terraform template, and
Right.
instead of going to Terraform's reference. Sorry if I'm getting a little
No,
technical.
adore this. Please keep going.
So,
You couldn't
yeah.
have a more captive audience right now. Please.
Yeah. So like, Amazon has virtual private clouds, and our infrastructure team owns that to make sure that it's super secure. And I needed to pull that into use that as a resource in my own Terraform template, which we use as infrastructure as a service to deploy services within that VPC. And I thought about bothering one of my engineers and
Sure.
learn about this. Instead, I just went to ChatGPT and typed in the same question that we just talked about, and
Wow.
boom, the code came up, copy, insert. So,
Wow.
and this is coming from like a technology leader. So definitely, not to say that, this is something that I do on a day-to-day basis, but it's a small
Definitely.
example of how AI is transforming how we work on a day-to-day basis, and how we're expected to do much more with less on a day-to-day basis. And that trickles all the way up to the executives as well, what their expectations are in terms of the number of data science models we create, the scale, the number of uh, the coverage of the entire marketplace, and what we're expected to produce is growing exponentially because of AI, and we accept it. And I think it's part of the culture in technology, and we need to adopt that. And then also, you know, from an end user's perspective, the gamer is expecting,
Yeah.
the game to react to how they feel, how they're doing. If they're struggling, they expect the game to like adapt to that as well, and pick
Absolutely.
up.
Or don't be dumb. I mean, I'm playing a driving game and the AI drives me off the road. Like, follow the rules, man. Like
Exactly.
expect a
Yeah.
little bit more.
Exactly. And that's from the actual gameplay to the graphics to the emotions that are shown when you lose a game.
Yes.
You can look at the players and they're sad, and you can see those expressions on their faces. Uh, um, we expect a lot more from technology, and it happens. When it happens, it's everywhere. It propagates everywhere. So, one game shows this capability. Now all the games are expected to have that capability.
Yes. Yeah.
One engineer starts picking up new technology within a day. Every engineer
Wow.
is expected to pick up a new technology.
So interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, it's funny that I'm a big basketball fan, and they say the NBA is a copycat league,
yeah.
and I hadn't thought of it that way, but basically, like, I'm in Toronto. I'm a huge Toronto Raptors fan. They ran this one play called the Box and One. It's what helped us win a championship and kind of keep Steph Curry at bay. And at the time, it was, what's this ridiculous high school play that you're running? It was very, very unusual and ahead of the game to actually put something in. And now it's just commonplace in the NBA. And I never thought of it, of course, in other industries, and especially in something. I mean, you guys, with the gaming industry being bigger than movies, of course, the visibility on something like that is so high that, of course, I mean, if I was a rival company or an indie gamer, I experienced something that I connected with and something that you built. Yeah, I want that too. And you can do it quickly, quicker than you used to be able to in terms of adopting these new technologies.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and for all aspects of the business are impacted by AI, right? So finance, marketing, legal, you're expected to be
Definitely.
able to turn around those contracts at a faster.
Absolutely. I don't have to ask my legal team. I think I had a similar experience to you in that
Yeah,
I could ask rather like, I mean, a question that I can't answer. I'm not a lawyer, but actually, if we need to modify this clause, is that going to be compliant with what have you? ChatGPT can give me that answer, and I don't have to bother my legal team. Or truthfully, I don't have to wait on a very busy legal team to give me what would have taken them 10 minutes. But in the queue of their busy life, it's the similarities on that is nuts. But that just goes to show that the technology is kind of pervasive.
it is pervasive, 100%, and we have to adopt or die, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what my son will be like. He's 4. And it's interesting. I don't know what I'm fairly confident he'll have a job that doesn't exist yet. And we'll see. Unless he becomes a dancer, there's a very good chance that he'll become a dancer. I'm not sure. So that I don't know. I mean, I've seen some of the Boston.
Yeah,
Sorry?
I just had this conversation with one of my college buddies.
Ah,
My godson is like a superstar student. He's really interested in programming, and I'm like, well, I don't know if you need to program anymore. Maybe we need to focus. Maybe you want to think about managing large suites of programs, or
yeah.
things from a different perspective. But it's the reality of where we're at, and you know adopting that, making that part of the culture of your team culture. I tell the team, use ChatGPT, use
Yeah.
AI,
Use it.
report AI,
Yeah.
but use it as well. And that's a huge strategy. The other big strategy
Hmm.
piece is, that often gets lost, is measuring the value that you're adding at a project level. Super important, right? So we get all these wild ideas for different we'll sit with the marketing team with these wild ideas and deliver those wild ideas. But ultimately, it's important to understand, and this goes all the way back to relationship building, understanding what drives the individual, what drives that department, what's the core fabric of your stakeholders as well, and measuring the impact of the decisions that are made based off of our analytical and AI tools that we provide to other stakeholders is super important. So,
Wow.
and I see it from a strategy perspective, like really thinking and understanding not just our own model of operating as a department, but understanding the
Right.
model of other stakeholders that we work with or end users, so that we can start to measure the impact as well.
Right.
So we feel the impact, know that there's an impact, but measuring that
Right.
is a key aspect of my strategy as a leader, and
Right, right. I imagine also that makes perfect sense because in terms of measuring and being able to get a sense of impact, but having real numbers to it. If I've got weight loss goals and I don't step on a scale every once in a while, I don't know.
exactly. Yeah.
Is this working? I can't
Yeah.
tell. That makes sense. And
Mhm.
as you're and that's interesting to me. Given this, the size of the team and the teams that you're connected to, that makes sense how important that would be. There's certain efficiencies that you need to maintain.
Yes.
And Fusemachines by no means is as large as a Take Two, but those are things in my role that we're looking to improve on,
Mhm.
and not just go by feel. Because
Yes.
as we're looking to scale, those are absolutely the things that and if you've got the time, I might pick your brain later,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometime over the next couple of weeks, in terms of
Yeah.
something interesting we're trying to achieve.
Definitely, definitely. Like working with Fuse Machines, a lot of our innovative ideas has come from uh, people from Fuse Machines. They're like, "Hey, the
Interesting.
way we're doing this, we can improve. We have
Yeah.
ideas too."
Well,
So,
let's talk about this partnership. It's obviously one when I first joined was the name that jumped out to me in terms of some of the contracts and what have you that I had seen. Obviously, being a bit of a fan of Take Two, 2K, Rockstar, but with that partnership, and especially as an organization that with Fuse Machines, we look very much so to democratize AI, and not just a banner that appears on our social media or our website. But how are we partnering together to better unlock that full potential of AI?
yeah, well, I think what makes Fuse Machines different from other vendors is that Fuse Machines is more like a family than a vendor. You know, Um, uh, during my time in my interaction with Fuse Machines, the every single person, like we have several consultants from Fuse Machines that are embedded within our teams, and uh, there isn't like a hierarchy uh, per se, right? Everyone
Mm-hmm.
has equal seat at the table, and they feel like an equal contributor, and that works extremely well because within that culture, that family culture, there's care that's taken and love and respect that is delivered in the workplace, and we we in New York City or
Yeah,
like in other cities in New York and in the U.S., we can lose that, right? We lose
definitely.
that love and care that is super important in terms of developing the relationships and delivering on projects. So that has been tremendous for us, and uh, also, that each one teach one. When someone learns something with Fuse Machines, everyone
Right,
learns it, and
right.
that as well too, because the con- the consultants that we work with Fuse Machines grow. That we've seen a rapid development in their technical capabilities
Wow.
during our working with them, and that also sets the standard high for what we need on our internal teams to show growth as well too. So that's been like in terms of the partnership, it's been great, and the entire
Right.
story, founder, how he's from Nepal,
Yep.
into the States, got his PhD, and went back. That resonates with me as well because I'm from the Bronx. There aren't a lot of software engineers coming out of the Bronx, but
Sure.
I make it uh, it's important to me to go back to where I'm from and
Right.
provide opportunities as well. So seeing what the founder of Fuse Machines has done is extremely inspiring,
Yeah.
and also yeah. So that's the key.
I that
Here.
resonates so much with me.
Yeah, that's a key
You use the word
differentiator.
twice. You use the word
Yeah.
love twice,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
no, but it's
Don't
funny.
just hear
I
it.
don't. No, it's not. I think it's not something that I had necessarily I don't think I'd use the word in the context, but it is absolutely not. Like I talk about, you used family. I've definitely spoken about fused family. I get mocked for talking about my fused family, and I don't care. But it is, you're right. It is more than that. And I can say that about us internally in terms of that love is there, that care is there. And it goes back to my earlier question about, or my earlier point about being able to connect with folks over borders, over oceans, just through ones and zeros on the screen. But that's why. And it's the culture, and it's so wonderful to hear one of our partners say that, but it is the culture that we foster here when we're looking to bring new members of the team, wherever they may be, whatever business unit, whatever we're working on, but that's got to be part of their DNA, because they're not going to fit in if they're not also going to, basically subscribe to that. And that word, now twice now, a word that I've never, I'm shocked that I haven't heard before in that context, but absolutely that love and care in our world, within our teams and with our partners and our clients and what have you, is it's front and center. It's really encouraging to hear that from someone on the other side.
And then, like with any family, over a long period of time, you go through cycles, right?
Yeah.
There's cycles where, hey, you're looking forward to having breakfast in the morning. Our breakfast would be our morning scrum and our agile ceremonial meetings. Then there are other times where you sit at breakfast, you don't want to talk. You just need to get and get on with your day. So,
but I appreciate the people at the table that will let me not talk, because man, he needs a minute. They know me. They understand the flow and the way that we work together.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly. So, really, it's been a great journey and ride with Fusemachines, and it's been, going on a few years, right? They were
absolutely. Absolutely.
Still here today.
Sure. And, I think you've answered a lot of these things, but I want to dive a little bit more into that kind of the distributed teams and working with distributed teams. Obviously with video games, there's an implication already of a virtual world. I was talking to my wife the other day, and I'm pretty excited about VR being as accessible as it's going to be in the next couple years. I'm a gearhead, so the idea of me being able to drop on some goggles and drive around in a Porsche, and actually really being immersed in it, and that's absolutely where we're headed. I believe one of these days I'm gonna be wearing a full haptic suit, and doing X number of things, and dunking on prime Michael Jordan. I'm pretty sure that's going to be something that I'll be doing in the future. But how was the experience for you and your team in terms of transitioning from working in an office to working virtually, and also you being bi-coastal must be interesting.
So, I really am big. We all learned how to be good virtual citizens during the pandemic, which helped a lot. And we have a virtual first. So every meeting that we schedule, there's a Zoom associated with it. So we're all in the meet. We're meeting in the office. We're in Midtown. And there's one person that won't be in the office. There's always a Zoom, and we're, virtual first. Also, there's some advantages to being virtual. The speed of communication on Slack with our Slack channels, and being able to break up different threads. We use all of the technology. We've adopted all the technology necessary so that we can improve our communication, which is the key thing that is in conflict with virtual teams. Like, how is the communication, spontaneity? And then what we found is that spontaneity is still there. It just requires an investment in actively communicating. You're not gonna hear something osmosis across the hall. You have to take that conversation and share it, and actively share it with others. And that's part of our team culture. So we have so many Slack channels that are going all the time. I think I have Slack turned now, otherwise you would hear it popping off.
So you've got that engagement. You've got people with
Yeah.
I can understand that, because if it's harder to communicate and you can't find the right people, and you're living you're off on this island and you are struggling with something, you can't get the assistance, you can't get the camaraderie, you can't have a quick conversation. I can get why that would be a place that people wouldn't want to be in anymore. But I think we've all sought out connection, we've all sought out that collaboration, and we've gotten better at it. It's funny how a lot of these companies, most companies, didn't have some sort of remote structure or technology or people or process, and they just had to. They did it in short order. It was either that or die. And again, wonderfully, I've found collaboration there. I don't get me wrong, I'm excited about my trip to New York next week, in which I had to hug some folks. You do need that on some sort of recurring basis, but my day-to-days can be pretty engaging and fun.
Yeah, and there's a huge drop off with cameras on and cameras off. And there are times, where we're meeting and it's 8 or 9 p.m. in Nepal, and the family just ate dinner, they're watching television, so they don't want to turn your camera on, right?
Definitely.
No,
I hear you.
So there are those times where we don't have that connectivity. I have like an open office hour policy. If I'm not in a meeting, you can Slack me, Zoom, I'll hop for up to 10 minutes. Doesn't matter what time of the day. During office hour, during work.
Of course.
But
that accessibility, I hear you, but that accessibility matters as a leader. For me to be a member of your team, and perhaps if I'm someone that reports to someone that reports to you, but still, if I have that accessibility to you, I feel so valued that and heard. At any moment, I may not use that all that often, but just the fact that it's there and it's real, and then I know that conversation, I won't just be kind of shoved to the side. That's going to fuel me. And and admittedly, I've had a lot of jobs in my career. I haven't always had that access to my leaders. I kind of thought that was just normal until I got it. I'm like, oh, no. That was a choice by those other leaders that they just, for whatever reason, that they didn't want to provide me with. And when I have it, I mean, you're supercharging those conversations, that development. It's amazing how just the little nudges can lead me down a path, whereas I might end my journey if I didn't just get a little bit of encouragement or a little bit of direction, just a note here and there. So I can only imagine your team, how much they would appreciate that. And I also imagine that the other folks in your team do the same thing. You're not unique in that. Exactly. And I try because again, if my leader's doing something, then you know what, I'm going to want to do that as well. That makes, that's just a great lesson for anyone, that accessibility to someone with your pedigree. Truthfully, I've known folks that might have had similar pedigrees to you, or something, they've come from great schools and had great experience, but they wouldn't dare give me the time of day. And okay, I guess that's just the way this works. So having access to that is a wonderful thing. And Andrew, I'm realizing now that I am way off course in terms of time, and I absolutely could talk to you all day. But one question I definitely didn't want to lose as we wrap up, as I've taken up too much of your time, is I've definitely heard that YouTube is a bit of a guilty pleasure for you.
Oh,
I've got my own channels that I obsess over, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about some of the content that you engage with, and if there's anything that you might recommend recently that our audience should check out.
Definitely. So I'm a big boxing fan. Love boxing. And I follow several boxing podcasts and get, where they interview. It's like it's a niche sport. Definitely recommended. Some of the channels that I love ES News. I love Fight Hype. And I really connect with the story of these boxers, that boxing is more like, it's one of those sports where you don't get as much support. It's very similar to software engineering and AI, right?
I'm gonna adore that connection. Forgive me, but I can't understand that connection. What would that be?
If you go to a boxing gym and you have a trainer, you can call yourself a boxer. if you take a couple online courses and learn how to code, you can call yourself an engineer or an AI engineer. Right? There isn't
Okay.
like a accreditation that's universally, whereas if you're a lawyer, you need to get past the bar. Or if you're a doctor, there's like a board exam that you need to pass. There isn't one of those for like software, and there isn't one for boxing.
Interesting.
But it's a lifestyle, right? Once you choose the profession, it becomes part of your DNA, and it's a lot of times that road that you're walking by yourself through that road. So when I listen to the
Oh,
story,
wow.
and I just, I love it, and I'll find myself crying when they have those
Sure.
documentaries that talk about their journey and how they, boxing has been the one thing that's gotten them through all the tough times. And I'm like, you know, um, I totally understand that. There are times where I'm like playing around with stable diffusion and just drawing images, being creative, or building games, or
Yeah.
writing code, or building a website, and like it's getting me through some really dark times in my own life.
Yeah.
So and so I love boxing. I definitely recommend if anyone wants to pick a
Very
sport.
cool. We'll make sure we add some of the links in the description so that folks can grab those. Andrew, I cannot tell you how much fun this was, and I definitely could have easily have done another hour, if not more. But I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're incredibly busy. I am absolutely. I don't know if it'll show up. I'm super gonna dive in if I get a chance, man. I just like now I'm just itching for it after this conversation. But again, thank you so much for your time. And you know what? If it's all right, I might reach out and pick your brain a little bit here and there. I'll make sure it won't be more than 10 minutes. I'll respect the hours, but I might shoot you a note and love to get your thoughts on leadership as well, because I imagine those folks in your team feel pretty lucky to be able to report into you. So all the best and much success in 2023. I can't wait to see what else Take Two brings in the next year.
Have a great time. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.